All right, so we pick up with X-Men 62, and the X-Men are now in the Savage Land. We actually start off with Angel. He's woken up by, well, he's being attacked by pterodons again. Poor guy. And then getting beat up pretty bad, and he recollects how he was awoken by Alex and Lorna and told that the X-Men left to find Dr. Lycos, and that he's like, no, Dr. Lycos, that's Sauron. That's the guy we need to. They need my help. They must go. So he flies off to Anderson's house, Tanya's dad, and almost gets clobbered by that guy. But then they both like talk about how Carl Lycos, betrayed him and ran off with his daughter, and he's all sad, eponymous, and he tells him where he's probably at. So then Angel heads that way, meets up with Tanya. Tanya's like, "Oh yeah, Carl took his own life," and then the X-Men followed him down to try to find him within that crater over there, and then Angel dives down there, and that's what leads us to this part. So he's able to fend off the pterodons, but because of the hypnotism, the being knocked out, flying all over the world, he finally is like, he can't take it anymore, and he falls essentially to his death. Because we meet Amphibious, who's one of the Savage Land mutants, and this is where it's the introduction of the Savage Land for the X-Men, at least, episode or issue 62 here. And of course we vaguely know about the Savage Land if we're just following the X-Men because Kazar is from the Savage Land, and we met him all the way back in like issue 10, I want to say. So, and then Amphibious is followed by this white-haired man, which if you've ever seen if you know anything about the X-Men, you know exactly who this guy is. But if you've just been reading the comics up to this point, you have no idea who this guy is. So this guy's like, let's take him, and the Amphibious is like, but he's dead. And he's like, no, maybe we can help him out a little bit. We then switch over to the rest of the X-Men who are fighting dinosaurs, and then they beat the dinosaurs and they get accosted by Kazar. They're like, oh, it's Kazar. This must be a Savage Kingdom that he's always talking about. That guy's kind of asshole. And Kazar is an asshole, and he's like, what are you doing here? Leave me alone. And you're like, bro, you you came at us. And then he takes off, and X-Men are like, maybe we should follow him and see what's like gotten up his craw. So they follow him, and they find him like looking at like the swamp people. Remember, we've heard about the swamp people in the past. And Kazar jumps to attack him, and then there's a guy there who's like mesmerizing powers, like hypnosis, kind of like Soren, but it's not Carl Lycos. And he starts causing, or even like the Scarecrow from Batman, he starts causing fear in Kazar, and Kazar's like freaking out, and then the X-Men are like, Beast is like, maybe we should help him, and Cyclops is like, he already told us he wants none of our help, so screw him, let's go. And then they go rescue him, beat up everybody, and then like after they clobber all them, we switch back over to the guy and his like crew of swamp people mutants, and he's got Angel in a cryogenic chamber, and he comes back to life, and he's like, oh, and instead of wearing his Avenging Angel outfit, he's now wearing his more traditional blue outfit, which we'll see a lot in X Factor. Much later. I don't think X Factor comes back to like the 80s. Yeah, it's a while. Anyway, but it's if you've seen the X-Men comics before he becomes Archangel, this is like the outfit I'm pretty sure he's wearing. It's like this blue outfit. Anyway, it looks good on him. I like it. It's a lot better than his like previous incarnations of uniform. But there's a Mesmer comes back. I don't know if his name's Mesmer. That's just what I'm calling him. This Mesmer guy comes back, and he's like, "Oh my lord, Kazar was rescued by some other mutants, and I don't know what to do." And then the guy's like, "Oh, the X-Men. Yes, I know." Like, and then we must stop them all. And then Angel's like, "Wait, the X-Men? I'm part of the X-Men. Something." And the guy's like, "Oh no, Kazar's envious of my. I'm just trying to help these mutants out. And look at all these mutants that I found down here. I was once from the land where you were, but then I came down here and something." And Angel kind of like not fortuitously, like in a very interesting, what's that term? What's the English term? Kind of like spot on. He's like spots on that it's like, hey, you're like a Stone Man Professor X. And the guy's like, oh, I don't know who that is. And like looks around. And Angel's like, well, let me help you. The X-Men are good guys, and if we can cause peace, then like you can do your thing, Kazar can do his thing, and the X-Men can do, and we can just leave, and like everything will be good. And the guy's like, "Oh, that'd be so helpful. Thank you so much. You're so very kind, Angel." And Angel's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it." And he goes. Meanwhile, the X-Men are trying to talk to Kazar, and Kazar is telling him that like there's a lot of messed up stuff going on, but he doesn't really talk to him that much. He just keeps running. And then he's like, "Oh, we must hurry! Like, don't you hear the piping?" And the piping's like one of these other mutant guys, and he uses the piper to summon like some monster from the depths. And so X-Men start fighting him, and Kazar runs off, and Cyclops and I don't think it's Cyclops. Someone's like, "Oh, that seems very unlike Kazar. It's kind of strange that he just like ran off like a little bitch." But he's not. He's running off to murder the Piper. And he literally does. He runs up to him, grabs him by his skull, and like pushes his skull in and kills him. We don't get all the graphic details, but it's like, damn. Like, this is the most violent the X-Men has ever been. I'm loving it. This is some grim stuff. And then the monster stops, and then Kazar, and then the X-Men are like, oh, Kazar's not back, but we got to figure out what's going on. And then and so after Angel leaves, and then, it flips back and forth. I'm doing it out of order. But after Angel leaves the complex, the amphibious is like standing there with the Master, and he's like, oh, Master, he doesn't realize what's going on. And the Master guy is like, yes, this is excellent. He's gonna hold the X-Men at bay so that I can finish my plans. And it's fortuitous that he's never seen me without my beautiful costume. And he like goes to this room, and there's dun 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 Magneto's mask, because this is Magneto, or Magneto's helmet. And he's like, the clothes really do make the man. So the second half of the Savage Land arc / Magneto Returns for the 45th time picks up with the X-Men seeing Angel show up. And Angel's like, oh, hey, something, something. And Kazar attacks him. Kazar or whatever attacks him right away. And they're like, no, wait, he's an X-Men. Because at first they don't recognize his outfit. So they're like, who's that guy? He's got angel wings, but I don't recognize that outfit. And they're like, oh, wait, that's one of the X-Men. And then Kazar is like, all right, I'm done beating him up. I'm going to continue. And then they have like a brief conversation about how Kazar is a good guy, and how, whatever the Master is, he's doing something. And Angel's like, no, I promise. Like, he saved me, recalls his like thing. And then they get jumped by all of Magneto's men. They don't know it's Magneto yet. And then Angel's like, oh my gosh, I was fooled. I almost caused the death of my friends. I can't believe it. And Kazar and Beast really just like wallop on everybody. And then the rest of the X-Men follow them into their wooden fort. Meanwhile, Angel flies in and confronts Magneto himself, who's with Brainchild, and Magneto's revealing that instead of finding mutants, he's creating mutants with like this device. And Magneto's like, ah, yes, Angel, behold! And then Angel looks into like the distance of this like machine, and he's like, oh my gosh! And then it cuts back to the X-Men, and they burst into this fortress, beat up some more guys, and they're like, where could Angel be? And it's like, oh, they're probably in that tower up there. So they head into the tower, and they run into Amphibious, who's like a frog mutant, and Brainchild, who's the one who's really smart. And Brainchild's like, hey, Amphibious, you trust me? Amphibious is like, forever, brother. He's like, go hit the 17th stone on that tower, or on that column over there, or whatever. So he does, and it caves in the front of like the tower, but Jean's able to like make that not happen. And then Beast grabs Amphibious and like wallops him on the ground. Iceman's just like chilling most of the time. He actually does something here in a second, but Cyclops shoots a tomahawk that Brainchild throws at him, and then Iceman wallops him with like an ice ball, and they're like, "All right, we did it!" And then Cyclops comes to the conclusion. He's like, "Created mutants, blah blah blah. Wait a second, I know who this is, even though we thought he was dead." And then Magneto's like pops up. He's like, "Behold, I am still alive." And he tells some crazy story. I can't remember if he tells it here or he tells it to Angel earlier, but when they thought he drowned, remember, because the one with Mesmer, it was an android. It wasn't even a real Magneto at all. That's why he didn't have like powers and he was so weak. But ow, and why the Sentinels didn't grab him. Ow. I got the centipede bite like a month ago, and it like still kind of hurts. It's crazy. Anyway, or sting. I don't think it's a bite. But oh yeah. So when he fell into the water, he like dived in further and went into like a cavern system, and eventually ended up in the Savage Land. And he was like, now I was going to prepare this great machine, and he's got all this like metal stuff on him. And at some point he's battling Jean, and he's like, if only I didn't have all these things in my body that would restrain my magnetic powers. Oh well, I still have a gun. It's like, what? Why do you have those things? Unexplained. It looks cool, I guess. Maybe it's for the machine. I don't know. Anyway, so we learn about Lorelei. And what Lorelei does is she enraptures the hearts of men. So all the X-Men except for Jean are like stunned by her presence. But Jean and Magneto start fighting, and it looks like Jean's about to lose, and she's trying to destroy this machine that it was used to create the mutants, because that's going to like solve all their problems. And then Magneto's like, aha, I got you in a quarter, and this gun will do the trick. And then all of a sudden Cyclops blasts the machine, blows up the machine with his eye visions, and Magneto's like, what? And Jean's like, I used my telekinetic powers to open his visor, you dumbass. And he's like, confound you all. And then he tries to use his limited mega powers to like throw crap at the X-Men, but it's not enough. And the machine collapses on top of him, quote unquote, killing him finally forever. Yeah, this guy dies like he's died like 4 times. No, wait, he died that time. I think he's only died twice now. This might be the 3rd time. He'll be back. Don't worry, friends. Magneto's got a long storied history with the X-Men. We're only in Uncanny X-Men number 63, though. Don't worry, there'll be plenty more of his ass. And the X-Men just like run out of the tower, and they're like, "We did it!" And then all the mutants like got transformed, like Amphibious and Lorelei transform back, and they're all Satapotamus. And then Kazar's like, "Good, who would miss such evil, awful powers if they were gone?" Or no, and the X-Men are like, "Well, it's good they don't have to live with these terrible powers." And Kazar's like, "No, they're going to be sad because they lost these wonderful powers that make them so strong. Who would want to give those up?" And then Beast is like, "Well, I can tell you at least one group of 5, the X-Men." Wah, wah, wah. Anyway, that's the end of that arc. It's pretty good. So it's always going to save Magneto return and being crazy. We got about 3 issues left. We'll probably just do one final arc for all 3 of them. And then we skip ahead because we go from like Uncanny X-Men 66 to like Uncanny X-Men like 100 or something, because it's just reprints for like 30 issues. They just reprint some of the stories. And we'll probably do is we'll go over the cameos where they show up, and we'll do Beast's story, because between now and then, this is when Beast goes from like looking human but kind of like big feet to being like the Beast we all know and love from the cartoon and the movies and everything else, right? His blue furry self. But yeah, there you go. Cool. Catch y'all later.